Good evening. Tonight is webinar 5 for the TOPP Transition to Organic Planning Partnership. This is our webinar about marketing organic products. I am Holly Morgan. I am with the West Virginia Farmers Market Association. It's our mission to strengthen the capacity of West Virginia farmers markets and positively impact the communities that they serve by providing education, advocacy, access to healthy, locally grown foods. This program fits in our providing education and advocacy portion of our mission, and we are going to learn about organic production tonight. What is TOPP? TOPP is the Transition to Organic Partnership Program. It's a USDA initiative that will invest $100 million over 5 years to provide education, technical assistance, and support to farmers transitioning to becoming organic farmers. We are doing farmer to farmer mentoring. If that's something that you're interested in signing up with, we'd be happy to sign you up and pair you with a mentor. Technical assistance and training days are going to be provided by Food and Farm Coalition, West Virginia Food and Farm Coalition. And then we are in the community building part where we do the virtual and in-person networking, connecting producers and professionals alike. And we will also be doing these classes based on these webinars in person in several places in the state of West Virginia. And we will have a monthly organic discussion call, which is very similar to our webinars that we're doing here. They'll be on a topic, but a lot more open conversation. So here we have our welcome to Isaac and Holly. Welcome. I don't know if Holly is there tonight with you, Isaac, but she was.
She's gonna be probably hanging out with the kiddos here this evening, so she's gonna be in the other room.
That works for us. Somebody's got to do that hard work too, huh?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I will let you introduce yourself and go ahead and get started.
Okay, greetings everyone. My name's Isaac Wigman. I'm a full-time organic farmer, raising mostly vegetable crops and hemp in Eastern Ohio. We're farming on my wife's family farm. We're both seventh generation in our families to be have a history in farming and agriculture in the Ohio Valley here. And the farm here goes back to 1803, and we're the caretakers for this generation now. So we've been making our living from raising certified organic vegetables and marketing in our region between Wheeling, West Virginia, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I've worked in horticulture all my life, grew up in family greenhouse business, and have traveled the country working for different farms, learning everything I can, and working as a horticultural consultant at times. So that's a little introduction to me and why I'm here talking tonight. So tonight we're going to be talking about marketing strategies for successful organic operations. And, when we're talking about certified organic production and the actual standards of that organic production, it really is, it comes down to it is about the marketing, because at the end of the day, we're trying to designate our products and our farms and what we're doing for what they are, and just letting the consumer know that, hey, this is a natural product that's been grown to a standard that is a high standard of making natural, clean, healthy food. And the whole effort behind that really is about marketing and building that customer base and those sales for your farm products. So there's been a lot of people who have been organic farming for a very long time, and as the world's modernized and industrialized, and small farms have turned into giant farms. The small farmer has a foothold in a little bit of a competitive edge when they transition to organic production and adopt this certification practice to sell their goods. So, you know, the customers that we're really looking for as organic farmers, you know, they're the customers that they're looking for health benefits of organic food. Um, they're the people who care about what's on their plate, or they're eating for their health. And in general, from what I've seen over the years, the average consumer is becoming more food aware. So those are really the people we're looking to reach out and connect with our products. So everywhere is different, and you know, where you live is going to slightly determine how you're going to be marketing your produce. And you know, every place has something they're famous for. Every place has something where things grow especially well, and sometimes we find in different places there's a niche that nobody's occupying. Maybe nobody's growing, you know, local salad greens, or maybe nobody's growing, you know, organic small fruits. There's different niches that you can find in different areas, depending on where you live, where you're farming, and where you're trying to market. There we go. Um, so when you're thinking about these customers, you're thinking about your farm business, you're thinking about where am I getting this out to sell? Um, Networking and getting to know the community and the local interest groups is a great way to find those customers. You know, go to the health food stores, go to the farmers markets, go to the farm workshops and the county extension agencies, and you know, connect with the local people who are around your farm, who are already in the general interest group. Nowadays as well, we've got the internet. Everybody has this technology in their pocket, and social media is a great way to share your farm and your work with your customer base and with your friends and neighbors and family, and you know, all of your different ties to your social world. As a farmer now, we have the ability to be out in our crop and be, you know, live streaming what we're harvesting to potential buyers, or just letting people know how it's going. So the internet's a powerful tool these days, and just like we're doing right now with this online webinar, you know, tune into things like this and find out who's out there and who's listening, and look into your region that you're going to be selling into. Get a real good idea of where you're at in your region, and where your buyers are going to be at. All right. So, you know, we're thinking about our customers and thinking about our region, and you know, we're farmers and growers, and we're very busy working to grow and to manage our farms. And you know, I'm a farmer who likes to be on the farm a lot. Other people are more into the marketing and sales side of it. So, you know, when I think about it, I try to think, who's already out there, who's selling the food already? Where is the food in your region being sold, and how can you introduce your locally grown, certified organic products into that stream of commerce in your region? So again, you know, your health food stores, your local retail grocery stores, any kind of nonprofit, agriculture, farming organizations can be great to work with. You know, schools can be a great opportunity to work with, restaurants. You know, just think about where the people are going to get their vegetables, or get their produce from farm businesses, and where those dollars are already turning. and network with those businesses so that you don't necessarily have to collect every dollar yourself, on a single sale at a time directly across the counter from a customer. All right. So there's a lot of different avenues that you can take with how you're planning to get your products sold. Um, Here's on the slide, it's estimated about 4% total of U.S. food sales or organic products. So, you know, 4% out of all the food being sold is a small niche, but in that is also where there's a lot of value, and that 4% of customers out of the whole are people who are looking for your products, and they'll seek them out. So the three main venues that food is being sold through is grocery stores, natural food stores, and direct to consumer markets, farm markets and roadside. Um, Speaking a little bit more on the wholesale end of the farm business, I might touch on it later as well, but there's a lot of different businesses that are looking to get stocked with food products from farms in a wholesale way. Grocery stores, restaurants, other businesses that are already operating CSAs, they're all great avenues to pursue. All right, now we'll touch on retail. Retail opportunities, whether it's the fact that your products are being offered at a retail grocery store, or you're actually operating your own retail store, your own retail roadside stand, your own retail farmers market booth. Retail's a great thing for a grower because you're able to get that higher dollar per unit on your sales. And you're able to represent your product in person a lot of the time, or at least be clearly recognized on that retail shelf as a locally grown, local farm product. The other points on the retail here is, branding and packaging that clearly shows what your product is and who you are. Kind of, if you're a little bit savvy with it, you don't have to say too much, but it's easy to get the point across that, hey, we're certified organic. We like to stay on the natural side of agriculture, and we're offering these higher end offerings of local produce. And they on the retail shelf, you're going to get a better price for them. Nowadays in a lot of places you see, a bag of greens now is selling for $6 or $7, $8 retail. A dozen eggs that used to be a lot to be $2.50 or $3, now a good dozen eggs from a local farm, depending on where you are, it's anywhere from $5 to $7. So there's great opportunities as growers and farmers to value add onto what we're doing with the organics, and connecting at that retail level allows you to build a conversation with your consumer, and you're helping to educate your consumers and educate yourself to what the consumers are looking for. So that's another great opportunity about actually being there and being known and being engaged in that direct retail sales, learning who your customer is in person, and they're learning who you are in person. And as your business grows over the years, you can begin to cater to specific regions, specific communities, specific customers even, and really dial out your marketing strategies. All right. on that retail topic here, on-farm sales and roadside stands can be a great way to sell your farm goods. It really depends on your location, and there's two ways to think about this. One is you can find yourself a roadside stand or a storefront to market your wares through that maybe might not be exactly near your farm, but it's within range of keeping it stocked, keeping it staffed. Your farm has a presence in a more urban area, or somewhere where there's more commerce happening. So the sales are there. The other way to think about the roadside stand is, well, if it is on the farm and I am in the country, if you build it, they will come mentality. And I've seen it work, and it can go a long ways. And sometimes it takes being there for a few years. But if you have a unique situation where you have a farm and you want to make those sales happen on your farm because you want to stay at home and actually work on the farm, and you want to get as many sales as you can without having to get in a vehicle and take it anywhere, on-farm stands are fantastic, and it gives the consumer a chance to actually see your farm, see where things are being grown, and that helps connect them to you, and it makes an experience for them that adds value to the whole equation. And sometimes, roadside stands, you can have generational business where, somebody's grandparents were shopping at your farm stand that your grandparents were running, onwards, into the future. And very, very good in some situations, but it's not for everybody, and it's not for every location. Certainly there's some, if you're very remote, if your access is bad, or if you're just off the beaten path a little too far, it's hard to do. And in our situation in Harrison County, Ohio, we're one of the least populated counties in the state, and we're about as far out as you can get from population density in any direction. And we're kind of in that big green center in the woods. And so to get into any kind of populace, to really be able to sell much and make it worth it, we're looking at a 45-minute drive to an hour drive. And then to get into better territory for sales and marketing, we're looking at an hour and a half each way, 2-hour haul. And that adds a different factor to the equation, certainly. All right, let's move on. Farmers markets. Okay, so farmers markets are a big one, and this is all being done by the West Virginia Farmers Market Association. And farmers markets have really been developing and growing and becoming a part of the fabric, in our region in Appalachia, particularly. We have a long history of farmers markets in our communities. There's been ups and downs in farming and agriculture, and who's buying what. But in the last 2 decades, I feel like we've come out of a different time, and more people are getting back to wanting to buy something that was grown in their area, and they like the experience of the farmers markets. So farmers markets are great. You're getting your retail dollar for what you're growing, and you have a chance to talk to your customers. You have a chance to educate your customers on each product on your table. Depending on your farm, it's a great opportunity to have all of your product lineup out for the public. If you have a diverse operation and you're selling meat and you're selling vegetables and you're selling honey and you're selling flowers and plants, a farmer's market is a great place to represent a diversity of what you're doing. It might not be the best option, if you're a commercial grower for say you're cropping out a high tunnel operation with cucumbers and tomatoes. Well, you might do good at a farmer's market, but you're not going to be selling as many cucumbers and tomatoes as you might need to be to make that your sole base of economics off the farm. So farmers markets, it's good to be diverse. It's good to have unique offerings that you won't find in other places, because then it's a special thing to be able to come to the market and get something that you can't find at the store. And sharing your farm, sharing your story. Customers get to know you, they become your friends. And you get to network with other growers, other farmers who are also vending in your region. You can find a lot of positive collaborations through that. And even if you're not somebody who wants to be there setting up and selling your wares on the other side of the table from your customers, maybe you're a hermit and you like to stay out on your farm and not talk to people, and that's great. But don't rule out farmers markets as an option. Just find somebody who wants to be that people person at the table selling. And, maybe they come to the farm and they pick up your stuff, and, they're, they're a paid employee of your farm, or they're an independent, collaborator, and you can still get into those farmers markets and get that retail dollar for your farm, even if you're not necessarily standing there at your table. All right. Okay. CSA. So CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And this has been catching on more and more as the years go by. And there's all different sorts of CSAs that exist now. Typically, you'll see them more in urban areas where there's a little more population density. It makes drop-offs and pickups and in that interaction a little more feasible for farmers. If you're really in a rural area, it's still doable. You just might have to pick a good centrally located place where enough people are willing to come and pick up. The CSA worked like a subscription, so it's great for the farmer because you can plan your season, you plan your harvest and your sales and your output. You kind of know that it's spoken for. You have a buyer, and a lot of times CSAs are like a prepaid subscription. So you're getting your money up front from your customer who's committed to coming and getting their share of vegetables from you. It's a great exchange with customers. It's very personal, and it's no frills. It's just getting the share to your customer. This is another situation where maybe you don't want to manage necessarily all the details of running a CSA style business plan, but maybe somebody in your region is already running a CSA, and maybe you have an opportunity as a grower and a producer to get your product to them, and they can get it into their CSA. And then maybe you have a home for everything that you can produce based on someone else's CSA business taking care of the distribution side of the business. And social media and the internet, with weekly updates and the potential for add-on options or weekly ordering. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach it with what you're offering your members every week. Are they getting a full share? Are they getting a half share? What that value represents to you as a farmer, what it represents to them as a customer. I have been doing a fall CSA for the last 8 weeks. We just finished our last drop off this week. mostly hard winter storage crops mixed with fresh high tunnel greens and herbs. And it was a success. Everybody was happy. It was a pretty nice, convenient drop off schedule for us. And it was fun to interact with the customers and do it directly ourselves. Otherwise, we do supply another large CSA that's managed through a nonprofit organization in Wheeling called Grow Ohio Valley. They actually manage the business end of it. They sell the CSA shares. They handle the customer pickup days. I'm just a wholesale supplier for them, and we're bringing them wholesale amounts of vegetables by the cases. We're offering them a wholesale price, and then it's getting distributed through their CSA. And as a commercial grower, that's a very valuable niche in marketing that we found for us. And it's nice because we know that how much we need to harvest, and there's very little waste. There's not unsold items coming home at the end of the day in the van. So it's a very efficient way to handle it, and it's on a schedule, whether it's a weekly drop off or a twice a weekly drop off. You can kind of coordinate your work efforts based around those CSA days and those farmers market days, whatever delivery days you've got going on, to where you've got a harvest day following, you've got a market day, a delivery day, and it makes your whole enterprise that much more scheduled and routine and efficient. I really like growing for CSAs for that aspect. All right, let's move on to the next slide here. Okay, restaurants and chefs. Now, depending on where you are, this could be very attainable or this could be a stretch. It really depends on what restaurants and chefs are in your region and what they're into working with. Everybody's different. Independent business owners and chefs are high-speed people with a lot on their plates that they're managing. So sometimes it's hard to get in there and have those conversations and get through initially. But, I encourage anybody going after restaurants and chefs with their farm products, be regular, take them samples, support their business, go and have meals at their business where they're preparing this food, get to know what they're doing, and try to make that connection on not a pushy basis. Chefs are very high speed, but they're wonderful people to work with once you get in with them. And a lot of restaurants will feature specialty items for a menu, for a highlight for the week, a special for the day. And then they also have their standard item menu. So if you can do something steady and reliable and try to produce it or have it available for most of the year, restaurants can provide you with a regular sales outlet of, dropping off once a week or dropping off twice a week with a set amount of an item that they're using on their menu every week, so they know what they're going through, they know what they want. And as a grower, if you can bring that to them for even a slightly higher price than they're getting wholesale, a lot of times they'll do it because a fresh local product is a selling point for their restaurant as well. And a lot of times the quality is very high, everything's very fresh. And sometimes that's not always attainable in a more commercialized wholesale supply chain for the restaurants. So, get in there, check out your region, look at what they're using regularly, and see if maybe you can establish a niche sales with a restaurant. And when you're looking at your region and you're planning your marketing strategies, think about how many of these different sales aspects that you could possibly handle. And then a community or a region becomes a spoke on your wheels of marketing. So you can kind of selectively pick where you're focusing your attention, so you're not spread too thin trying to hit too many places. All right. Web sales and mail order. So this is a great end of farming. There's a lot of traditional mail order farm businesses. There's people who grow flower bulbs, there's people who grow ramps, there's people who grow storage crops, value added products, salsas, jams, and sauces, that kind of thing. And you can get them and place an order, and they'll put it in a box, and you can get it to the customer in the mail. Or you can, get your mail orders out to on a wholesale level to businesses far and wide to resell your product. There, it doing this with fresh produce is sometimes tricky. But if you're up on the management of your online presence and you're hitting your customers with what's available every week, you're taking orders and you're harvesting by the order and distributing it fresh. The internet can be a valuable tool. I have a friend, great vegetable gardener. He got together a list of chefs in his city, and he just started growing everything he wanted to grow as a farmer. And whenever his crops were about finished, he would start sending pictures to all the chefs. By the time it was ready to actually harvest to sell, he'd have orders from all of his chefs, and just about everything that he could grow was getting bought before it was even picked. So the internet is a great tool. Web sales are a great tool. And then on the idea of mail order, outside of shipping fresh is a tough business, but it's doable. You can ship microgreens, you can ship salad greens, you can ship hard crops. It just depends if you can get the value for doing that extra work. Delivery and shipping is a separate business almost. So there's those aspects, but then there's also the aspects of making value added products from your farm production. Whether that's, dried cut flowers or dried botanicals, medicinal herbs, value added products like that, like salves and tinctures, if you're somebody who works in that area. Jams and jellies and salsas. Be creative. Maybe you want to do, roasted garlic or dried tomatoes. There's a lot of options if you're somebody who's creative and you want to develop your business in that sense. And then you can grow your crops, you can pile up your product inventory. If you have something that's more shelf stable than fresh produce, you can have a nice little stash of marketable product as your business grows and develops. And as it gets rolling, then you can reinvest in yourself and your inputs, and you can grow as it grows. So I'm also a big fan of the mail order and the web sales style approach to it. And I do the web sales with my hemp end of business more so than the vegetable end of business, because the hemp flower and the products that I'm making are dried botanicals and shelf stable packaged products. So I can have that inventory on hand that I grew, and then I'm spending the rest of the year selling it. So, you could expand on that however creatively you want. But there's a lot of great things that you can do on the farm to add shelf life and add value and have a great product that you can ship out. All right. So yeah, on building your customer base and on building your base of buyers, the one thing that I've definitely noticed over the years of selling is consistency is a winning ticket. Um, if you're growing 100 different kinds of vegetables and you only have them when they're available, and they're only available for a harvest or a few weeks of harvest, and then you don't have them again, it's harder. That might work for a farmer's market, but it's harder to develop um, consistent buyers on a wholesale level or be stocking retail shelves on a regular basis. Um, it just adds a little bit of difficulty to the mix. But if you stay consistent with what you're doing, if you can look at crops and farm products that you can make available, um, logically as long of a season out of the year as you can, and then add value to things, preserve it so that you can sell it the rest of the year as well, then you're going to be able to get that income flow. And versus trying to raise a big cash crop and hope that you get it all sold, and you're counting on selling a few big crops to make it through the year, it's much better, in my opinion, as a farmer to have steady business and steady sales and steady production, and your income becomes more of a stream and a flow to manage versus just a couple bigger sales throughout the year to get by on. And that flow is easier to feed back into investing in the business and paying for the things you need to pay for. And it's flexible, and you can kind of decide, well, I'm feeling a little spread thin, so I'm only going to take on 6 restaurants this season. Or you can say, hey, we're doing great. We're going to do the 6 restaurants, and we're going to take on a farmer's market and a CSA. Then you can navigate. That flow can get you there. And you don't have big times in between getting paid for your work. And as a farmer, you gotta pay yourself for your work, and counting on a small handful of sales throughout the year versus a consistent flow of sales, it makes it a lot easier to manage, and you're taking on less risk. What you're growing is going to be sold, and that you're going to have income in time to keep the bills paid, which is the name of the game in business and in farming. Connecting with your customers, whether it's the chef that you're having a conversation with, or it's the farmer's market customer that you're talking to, or your neighbor buying from the farm stand, sharing with them and getting their reactions, and letting the world see that, hey, there's these happy people buying my food and they love it. That's really good publicity for you as a business and a farmer. And your customer base will turn into your marketing base, and it'll eventually spread once you're doing it long enough. And I've witnessed that happening for us, that the more we're there over the years, the more our customers are bringing in more customers and expanding our marketing and economic opportunities for the farm. And then with your customer base, once you have these people, make sure that you kind of stay regularly in their news feed, whether that's on social media or whether that's a email newsletter once a week or once a month. Maybe you're seeing them every week for business and making time for those conversations. But if you let your customers know what you're doing, if you share, you don't have to share your whole life, but if you share some of your life with them and in a personal way, and in a professional way, um, it really pays off, and people feel like they know who you are, they know your farm, and a lot of times most of your customers will consider you in their friend circles, even if you've never done anything other than sell vegetables to these people. They will definitely become your friend circle. And that's the best kind of customers to have is your friends and family. So I really encourage people to, you know, don't be scared to take on more than one aspect of marketing your produce, or your farm goods, whatever that may be. Um, Look at all the avenues and, maybe try to get a foot in the door a little bit with each of them. Um, and you'll have a valuable network that you can reach out and communicate with. All right. Is there more? Yep. Okay. So on that concept of really, finding your network, finding your buyers, thinking about thinking about different aspects of marketing potentials, wholesale, retail, CSA, farmers markets, personal customers. When you're planning your sales, planning your harvest, planning your deliveries, try to make it as efficient as possible so that you don't have extra time, man hours, and miles spent to connect with these buyers. So, I kind of pick an area, find the grocery stores, find the farmers markets, find the chefs, and then try to string together a logical time frame of how can I sell all of these different businesses and in person at a farmer's market on the same day of the week when I'm driving into town with my weekly harvest, or twice a week with my weekly harvest. So think of it, I call it trap lining. Like fur trappers up in Alaska, you've got a trail, you've got a route, you've got a loop that you're traveling, and you're going and you're checking your trap sets and you're getting your yield from each of your traps. And when you go into town as a farmer, plan your trip to town well, especially if you've got a distance to travel. um, and you'll find, at the end of the day, it's really a great system. And a lot of times what's left over from a farmer's market might be able to be sold to a restaurant or be stocked at a grocery store, and you'll find that there's less waste in your effort. Everything's getting sold and you're not bringing stuff home, and you're not spending those extra hours and extra gas money out there. So try to make it efficient as you can. um, and think about that, because the miles do cost you a lot in time and vehicle maintenance and all of it as a farmer. All right, let's move on to the last, I think this is the last slide of talking about marketing here, and touching on that trap line of sales, and setting up your delivery routes so that you can go in one direction one day of the week, and then maybe you go into another direction, into another city or another community, another day of the week, and then you have multiple spokes on your sales wheel every week, and you're being efficient about getting out to them. And, if you're doing that style and of sales as a farmer, and you're actually getting your wares out, and nobody's coming out to the farm to just pick up and take it, you're going to have to think about what kind of vehicle you're using. Um, Now, if you're building it as you go, and you're keeping it on a budget, and you're running it as a organic, self-developing small farm, avoid debt, avoid taking on too much cost or too many bills. As much as you can, use what you have. If you have to take your stuff to sell in an old station wagon, that's fine. If it's functional and it can get the job done, use what you have and save the money. Now, if you're approaching it from more of a business aspect of farming, and you're looking at developing a lot of sales, and taking on employees, and generating your entire livelihood, um, and generating a lot of profit, you might want to consider, investing and buying and taking on those loans for the things that you need to run your business, so that you can be up and running at full steam as soon as possible. So, when my wife and I got together and started farming, um, we each had our own vehicles, and I was getting by with a little car and some roof racks, and loading stuff up like that. And she had a big farm pickup truck, burning a lot of gas to get to the city, an hour and a half to go make sales, and uh, having to really protect the vegetables, and case them up and crate them up and tarp the truck, and keep stuff from getting wind whipped. So I kind of looked at the situation at the time, and thought, well, if we're going to be doing this for a living, and this is our career, we need the best vehicle we can get for that specific purpose. And so for us, it was just a standard sized cargo van. Very basic vehicle, 2 seats in the front, open in the back, and you can load it full, and it doesn't get rained on or damaged in the wind. I'm going to insulate it soon so that it holds its temperature better. Having fresh produce out in the world, uh, in the summer, in the winter, in the sun, it goes bad faster. So if you can maintain those ideal conditions in your hauling, you're going to be able to market your stuff longer, and have a longer window to be able to sell stuff, and have everything at its peak, and looking a lot fresher than most of the stuff that you'll find anywhere. So those are all things to think about. Um, Another thing to think about with vehicles is don't go too big too fast. You don't want to be driving a 20-foot box truck around, unless that 20-foot box truck is all the way filled up when you're driving around. Um, you want to get the sales and the output to where you're efficient, and you're utilizing what you have. So my van will hold 48 of these black plastic vegetable crates that we use. And, very rarely do I get my van filled up with all 48 cases. And that's kind of my goal in life, in a way, to get that van filled up with those cases every time I'm driving out of the driveway. And I might be at 3/4 capacity lately for the last season or so. So we're gaining ground on it, but I still have lots of room to shove full of vegetable crates, and expand sales without having to buy a bigger vehicle, or be driving a box truck down the road. And sometimes, maybe make 2 trips if you have to. So be efficient in how you're getting yourself out there around in the world. And well, I think that's probably about time to wrap up this presentation here. Um, I'm available for questions. Feel free to email, feel free to call. Um, Happy to help people out.
Absolutely. West Virginia Farmers Market Association information is there, listed as our website, my email, and personal work phone number. And we will see you next year, starting January 9th. We will host our monthly organic production discussion groups. Those should be a lot of fun. Again, we will have a topic and then we will have discussion. And lastly, I'd be remiss if I did not say that this programming tonight was paid for in part through grants from the United States Department of Agriculture and their National Organic Program. So we will see you soon, and hopefully you will catch our next webinar here at 7 o'clock. So thanks a lot. All right, we're going to take a break for a minute. I'll be on, but you don't have to worry about getting back till like 7.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
We'll log off.
I'll catch you at
Oh.
7.
Yep. I'll drag on my talk a little bit, give you a break.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Bye.